Om. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. We are in Amrit Anubhav. We'll be starting with verse 55 today, chapter 2, Shri Guru Stavana. And the main thought that Jnaneshwar Maharaj was expressing in the last two verses was, how long will I keep on talking and glorifying the Guru? Because essentially speaking, once one has come to know, then there is no Guru and there is no Shishya. From that high pedestal, there is no duality. And and that coming to that disposition is the true salutation to the Guru. Sant Jnaneshwara continues to extol the Guru's glory. याच्या सख्याची नवाई आंगी एकपणा ठाव नाही आणि गुरु शिष्य दुआळीही पवाडू केला. The love of my Sadguru is most wonderful. In him there is not even a mention of oneness. He is sporting the glorious Leela of Guru and Shishya. Today's meditation, name and form. He is sporting the Leela of name and form. See, the beauty is the water expresses as the name and form at the totality level as ocean, at the individual level as wave, but the water never becomes anything. Water remains water, yet supporting all the names and forms. It has not become less, it has not become more. And this is our truth. This idea that we have that we are anything less, this has to get out of our mind. We are not short of anything. And once we recognize by the grace, by continuous contemplation, that there is nothing lacking in us, then this seeking will also stop. Stopping of seeking means quietness of the mind. See, mumukshutvam, intense desire to liberate. How long will you cultivate that? It must come to a conclusion. We can't keep going on and on. How long will you keep thinking of sleep? It must lead, that thought of sleep must lead to conclusion called sleep. How long will you keep seeking? Oh, then we say, oh, journey is more important than the destination. No, but reach the destination, man. And when can you reach the destination? Not in the past, not in the future, right here and now. Right here and now, at this present moment, you are already complete. Do we accept that about ourselves? Or do we again come out with a sabotage? But see, the love of the Guru is so wonderful. Love of the Guru, grace of the Guru Tattva, the grace of the Guru Maharaj. The love of the Guru is so wonderful. In him there is not even a trace of oneness, because the moment one is mentioned, two-ness is implied. So water does not say I am one without a second. Water does not say, because if it says I am one without a second, then the second has already appeared. If the second appears, then the third will appear, then the fourth will appear. Then the attention will be extroverted. So who is saying this, that there is multiplicity, there is duality, there is that ekameva dvitiya nanasti kinchana, one without a second, there is nothing other than that one? Who says all this? The seeker is saying all this. It is all this language, the use of language, the connotations, the similes, the examples, the scriptures, they are all part of the world. The Guru Tattva, it is, no words can stick to it. No words are capable of defining it. No words are able to correctly address it, because words are temporary. They come and they go. They have a beginning and an end. And that which is finite, a word is a finite expression. How can a finite expression express the, or indicate, or it can only indicate, but it cannot reveal the finite, infinite, unless and until you take the position as we explained in the meditation. If you take the position as given in the meditation today, that all the forms are existence and all the names of the forms are consciousness. All the forms are outside, all the names are inside our mouth. All the names in our mouth are expressions of thoughts. And thoughts are expressions of consciousness, knowledge. Forms are all existence. So that one alone is appearing as form outside, and one alone is appearing as name inside. Think. When you stand in front of a mirror, what do you see? You see a form, you see a reflection. But where is your attention? Your eyes are looking at the reflection, but if you have to make your hair or trim your mustache or beard, your attention is on yourself. Your attention is not on the mirror. So you're looking at, because you cannot look at your own face, you are looking at the form in the mirror, but your attention is on yourself. Is that how we move around in this world? Or we lose the plot? Me against him, him against her. Because the moment one is mentioned, two-ness is implied. So when we look into the mirror, yes, I am outside the mirror and there is a reflection in the mirror. Duality is created. But is that duality corrupting you? Is that duality making you forget yourself? Or do you say that the reflection is of is mine, is of this face? So you don't feel broken up because you are seeing two. Think. Because your attention, even though you are looking at the reflection, you are not influenced by the reflection. You are not controlled by the reflection. You are not hijacked by the infection. Infection, I'm saying, reflection. Yes. Both are similar. Same way, when we look around in this world, the trees, the sunrise, the roof angle, the window, the birds flying, all are forms. Are we seeing it as the reflection of the self? This is how Mahatma lives. If there are number of mirrors opposite, there are two mirrors opposite each other, or you are in a room full of mirrors, what will you see? You will see infinite reflections of yourself, isn't it? Will you see or not? You will see infinite reflections of yourself. And you, the original, when you move one hand, all the hundreds and thousands of reflections in that room, they will also move the hand. Because all of them are moving the hand, have you become schizophrenic? Or you know you are the one and these are reflections. So in spite of the manyness, we are not disturbed. We continue to be the one. Now apply this in the daily living. Apply this with every breath. Apply this with every thought. Apply this with all the seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, all the stimuli. Apply this with the entire world. Apply this with waking, dream and sleep. Immediate conclusion, over. Thinking in this way is contemplation. Naturally, just listening to it, I am also listening to myself. Mind is coming out with these thoughts, this contemplation. There is complete silence. That silence is not opposed to speaking. That silence is not opposed to expression. The silence is not, that one is not opposed to the phenomena that is taking place here right now. Advaita Shastra describes the truth as ekam, evam, advitiyam. Ekam, one. Evam, alone, one alone. Advitiyam, one without a second. That is, other than this, nothing else is. Exactly the same point. When we are in the middle of the room of mirrors, we know we are the one without a second. All others are reflections. All other are expressions. The only difference, if I am not there, all these cannot be. Because if they are continuing to be there and you are not there, then it will be ghost. So all the reflections are dependent on the original one. So all the forms, names and forms, are dependent on the self. See? Just like all the forms in the room of mirrors are dependent on the person who's standing in the middle of the room. See how beautiful the whole thing is. Out of that non-dual conscious pure existence that the Guru is, the duality of Guru Shishya is created, and in this way a wonderful drama of Guru Shishya is being played. All this is his Leela played out of his own joy and volition. So when we take the children to the mirror In one mirror they look very fat, in one mirror they look like a tapeworm, in another mirror they appear broken, in another mirror the face becomes so big, body becomes very thin. Then when we take them to the room of mirrors, they see themselves multiplied to infinity. And majority of the children, when they go there, they become scared till they don't get used to it. We are also running scared of this world, wanting security, surrounding ourselves with possessions and relations, and thus not being who we essentially are. So same way, this Guru Tattva, the self, he is himself reflecting as all the names and forms. Shishya is also a name and form, disciple is also a name and form. So he himself allows the form of the Guru and the name Guru, and he allows the form of the disciple and the name of the disciple to appear. It's appearing. And how it's appearing? As his Leela, as his sport, as a game. How you are producing all the reflections in the mirrors? It's a creation-less creation, isn't it? This is what we have been talking about the Lord. He creates the creation without doing anything. So it's a creation-less creation. See how wonderful. Knowing less knowing, desire less desire, experience less experience, creation less creation. So actually nothing has got created, but there seems to be a creation. Actually there is nothing called ocean and wave. It's only a name. Where? In my mouth. What is there? Only water. Same way, duality means all names and forms. Where are the names? In my mouth, in my mind, in the consciousness. Where are the forms? Outside there. Whose expressions are these? Existence called forms and consciousness called the words or the thoughts of that one, that Guru Tattva. The Guru alone is expressing as the name and form. The Guru alone is expressing as the Guru and the Shishya. And how is he doing it? As a game, as a sport, as a Leela. What does Leela, sport and game means? Nothing to achieve. No purpose. Purposeless purpose. When we are playing with children, nowadays we got a carom at home. So one kid came and there was time. Swamiji, he saw the carom board. Let's play. Okay, let's play. And that fellow was not able to take because the board is big, so he could not take the coins in the holes. So I will say, okay, I am hitting my white, okay, and I will purposely hit the black, and I'll take his coins, and eventually he won. For him, it was a very important that I defeated Swamiji. But I only made him win by putting all the coins for him, his own coins. I purposely did not take mine. And I did the drama. Arey yaar, again what happened? Why am I taking black instead of white? Leela. So why was I playing game? Was it to win or lose in my case? No, it does not matter. it did not matter what happens. But for that kid, it was a very important game that he defeated Swamiji. But for me, it was just a game. Same way, look at the whole entire Srishti, entire creation of name and form. It's a carom board. Sometimes he kicks you, sometimes he loves you. Who? The one. It's the play of that one alone. Nothing to achieve, nothing to gain, nothing to reject. All this is his Leela played out of his own joy and volition. Out of his own joy. We have given this example before. The waves on the river, which are nothing but water, and there are waves on the ocean also nothing but water. But the waves on the river have a purpose. I have to reach the ocean. I have to reach the ocean. The river wants to reach the ocean. Waves cannot reach the ocean. But the waves created on the river, on its journey to the ocean, are born out of the desire to reach the ocean. Whereas the wave born on the ocean, why they are born, why they come into existence? Is the ocean trying to reach anywhere? No, it is complete. That which is complete is in bliss. Desire can never give you permanent bliss. It can only be temporary. So the waves born on the ocean are born out of the inherent completeness, inherent ananda of the ocean. Whereas the waves born on the river are born out of the desire of the river wanting to reach and merge into the ocean. So same way, here and all the Guru Shishya, the duality which is appearing, the names and forms which are appearing in the world are born out of, as if born out of the joy of the Guru Tattva, the joy of the self. Recognize this about yourself right now. Don't make Guru a concept. We are talking about Guru as the self again and again. This is Jnaneshwar Maharaj's own direct experience. He doesn't see the Guru Maharaj as separate from the self. He doesn't see the Bhagavad Gita as separate from himself. With this knowledge, when you go to the temple, with this knowledge that one alone is expressing as the form outside and the name inside. So when I take Om Namah Shivaya and I embrace and do Abhishek of the Shivalinga, I am touching divinity, because that Shivalinga is existence incarnate, the divine incarnate. And this idea is only presented in Vedanta. No other religion has talks about this. Therefore we are complete. Therefore we do not convert. Therefore we don't think twice if we have to do a prostration, salutation to a tree or a mouse or an elephant or a tiger or a donkey or a younger one or an older one, to the dog, to the cat. It does not matter, because our understanding is this, that one alone is expressing as the many. And when you understand this name and form the way I explained in meditation and I am explaining now, majority of the people go there with a list of demands. Many people go to the temples thinking, oh, it's only a vigraha, it's only a It's only a stone statue, it's only a photograph. That's why that surrender doesn't come, because we are going with that type of disposition. But when we understand that all the names within and all the forms without are expressions of that one Guru Tattva, that one self, then when I look at a Hanuman statue, as I have got it here on the side table, Neelkantan's father, he drew a Hanuman form by only writing Ram, 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 Ram. It's so beautiful. Look at it, it's Ram, it's the one reality itself. See? There are 5 important qualities with reference to the absolute creation. Sargaha, maintenance; sthiti, absorption or samhara, laya; the hiding of the divine behind the names and forms, avarana, that is concealment; and the power of grace, anugraha. So 4 points Swamiji is telling here: sargaha, sthiti or laya, and avarana and anugraha. So easy. So maintenance, sargaha is creation, maintenance is sthiti. In the popular scheme, creation, Sargaha, is brought about by Brahmaji. He is the Adhishtan Devata of the Sargaha. Vishnu, Lord Vishnu is the Adhishtan Devata, is the deity of the maintenance. And Shiva is the deity of Samhara or Lay, which is absorption. Then the hiding, so this 3 is going on all the time. That because of which we woke up this morning was Brahmaji. You will give reason, oh, because I had to go to a class, so I woke up. Because it was the alarm, so I woke up. I don't know, some out of the dream something woke me up. It is Brahmaji. Give your attention to the higher. The hiding of the divine behind the names and forms, that I have been explaining throughout today's lecture, from the beginning now, that we understand, that is avarna. Creationless creation. The waves are the creationless creation of the water. So they appear to be there, but are actually not there. And what is appearing all the time? It is water. Before the Sargaha was water, during the Sthiti was water. That means before the creation there was water. While the wave was maintained, it is still water. And when absorption of the wave happens, or the laya of the wave happens, it is still water. Water has name and form. Wave has a name. And we give it a name called wave. Why we are giving it a name? Because we are perceiving a form. We are seeing a beginning and an end. We are seeing water, but our attention is on the beginning and end of that particular specific expression of that water, of that phenomena of the water. And we give it a name. Where do we give it a name? Does a wave know it is a wave? No. We know that it is a wave. We have given it a name. Where have we given it a name? In our own mind. But when we understand it in this manner, that before, during and after the wave, the water was always. When we are using the word wave again and again and again, then our attention is on the limited expression Our attention is not on the substratum. So when we keep considering ourselves to be father, brother, sister, wife, etc., then our attention is on the limited expression. Our attention is not on the substratum, the self, the pure consciousness. When we are only obsessed with the waker and the waking world for a few moments about the dream and the dream world, and other times absolutely not giving any value to the sleep, we take it for granted. So again, three different expressions, but our attention is on the expression of waker, dream and deep sleep. They are coming and going, all the three. Can anything come and go? And sorry, I can't say can anything come and go. That which is coming and going is existing in its own absence. It is an expression of that one which is always. Do we consider ourselves to be the permanent one? Do we consider ourselves, the self, to be the unchanging one, but supporting all the changes? Allowing the changes to express. That is what is told here as Avarna. The divine behind the names and forms is the Guru Tattva, which is not other than the self. Just like the screen of the TV, it is the unchanging one. But without it, you cannot see the movie. In the movie, the space, air, fire, water, earth, emotions, seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, birth, maintenance, death, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, everything that you can imagine from this world or another world. Most fantastic imaginations, but can they appear without the screen, the substratum? Is substratum changing when the movie is going on? Because we are obsessed with the movie and it's happening very fast. It's happening very fast. You know, in the olden days when I don't know how digital also it is like that only. When I do my, when I edit the videos, I can put it into a program and I can break it into hundreds and thousands of small pieces. I can't break it. It automatically, it appears that way only. So I can zoom in and I can go to any part. And if my mustache has gone this way and the other one is down, I can go and fix it. Exactly where I want to get it. If I want to take out one part, I can take it out. This you can understand. In the olden times, there were inert reels, the film reel. They were the negatives on the spool. And when that light passes through that negative, it used to be projected on the screen. See? Screen is not changing. Same way, are we the unchanging one? Are we considering ourselves, or is our attention on the Guru Tattva, the essence, the unchanging one, which is supporting all the change? Avarna. So the screen is concealed behind the continuous change. The water is concealed behind all the waves. The man is concealed behind all the roles that he is playing or which are expressing out of him. And he forgets. When the man on the screen cries, the movie cries, the screen does not cry. When the girl laughs, the screen does not laugh. See? So when the husband becomes frustrated with his life, nothing has happened to man. He is the substratum. When the man becomes goes into ecstasy, nothing has happened to the man. Exactly the same way, whether the thoughts are of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, whether the thoughts are of all the scriptural language, continuously we are thinking about them, nothing has happened to the substratum, the self, equal to Guru Tattva. Nothing has happened. It remains the same. Without it, thoughts cannot appear. Without it, form cannot appear. But it is untouched, unaffected. Because all that which is appearing is only a sport, a leela. And the last one is, and the power of grace, anugraha. The grace is that this grace is always available. Whether the movie is playing or not playing, the screen is always there. Similarly, whether the mind is awake or dreaming or sleeping, the self is always there. That is its grace. When does it get invoked? When you contemplate upon it. When some expression, when the shishya, when the mind thinks about, contemplates upon, gives attention to that which is beyond its scope of understanding. So how is it doing? Only out of faith. In that process, whatever you think reveals or becomes available. And how does it become available? That you become one with it. So when I think of food, I want food, I desire food, I take food, and once I put food into my mouth, then everything, the desirer and the desired become one. Desirer. So these desirer and desired is the form, desirer is the name, I. When I and that become one, Anand. But can the I and that, the desirer and desired, can these two express without the substratum? Cannot. Recognize this about yourself. So this Guru Tattva, this pure consciousness, it is grace impersonified. It's natural for it to bestow. It's of the nature of grace, we can say it. When I use the word bestow, then we presuppose there is another. Here it is said that out of his own will, the Guru has created the Guru-Shishya duality. We have talked about it. And he then maintains the duality. And when he thinks that this game should come to an end, to such a disciple, the grace of the Paramatma comes in the form of the contact with the Guru. And in the presence of this Guru, the individuality of the disciple is burnt into non-existence. So, all the stages. Sargaha, Sthiti, Laya or Samhara and Anugraha. What is the one? Avarna and Anugraha. All stages. Where these 4-5 stages are happening? They are happening in the phenomena. And phenomena cannot express without the substratum. in and through the phenomena, in and through the phenomena, only the substratum is expressing. In and through the creation, to understand, without space you cannot have creation. Without space you cannot have the form, the variety. Space alone is expressing through air, fire, water, earth, trees, mountains, plants. Everything is pervaded by space. And that space which is pervading everything in creation is pervaded by the Guru Tattva, the pure consciousness. Example, deep sleep. We have given you once we did meditation also, and this thought has come in many places. Bhutakash, Chittakash and Chidakash. The gross space is existing in the mental space, and the mental space is part and parcel of the conscious space. So what has happened? That conscious space, when it becomes mental space, why we are saying mental space? When the moment we say, the moment the conscious space expresses, it expresses as two, duality begins. What is the duality? Inside and outside. What is duality? Name and form. So where are the forms? In the total space. Where are they? Outside. Oh, that outside space is called Bhutakash. Where are the names appearing? In my mind, in the mental space. What is the space where all the thoughts are appearing in the mind? It is called Chittakash. Whose expressions are these Bhutakash and Chittakash? Of Chidakash. See? Okay, everything you can take back. Go back to the source, go back to the source, go back to the source. Because you are the source. So he alone, he out of his own Leela, he creates out of his own free will. Does the Guru have free will? No. He is ever complete. Then why are we saying out of his own free will? If you have the free will to express or not to express, if you have the will to seek the truth or indulge in the world, why can't he have? He is Sarva Guna Sampanna. He has all the capabilities. So, are we telling this story of Sarga, Sthiti, Laya to the one without a second principle, to the Guru? No. We are using this language to explain to ourselves it could be in this manner. And we are thinking in such a manner so that our attention goes to that substratum, the common denominator, the unchanging principle that we are, and we start seeing that this self alone is expressing as everything. It is only, it itself is out of its own free will creating, maintaining, destroying, and then as we are right now, we are seeing so many seekers are there. So many seekers are there who want to become the masters of the world. They want to have big businesses. They want to influence the world. They want to make an impact on the world. And while doing all this, suddenly one day, by grace, their attention, their energies, their efforts are put into seeking the self. See? And when they get exposed to the scriptures, they exposed to the Guru, some Guru, and once they start, the journey becomes introvert by grace. Then the teacher comes into their life, Guru Maharaj comes into their life. And as they go through the satsangs, they study, they churn the information, keep fine tuning as they go along. Slowly they realize that this world which I was indulging in, this world of forms which I was trying to own, this world of forms which I was trying to possess, this world of forms which I was trying to create relationship with, and I was doing all this only because I considered it separate from me. Now, as the attention of this person, of this seeker, becomes focused on the substratum, on the base, on the foundation of everything, slowly, the fifth part in the form of Guru, and in the presence of the Guru, the individuality of the disciple is burnt into non-existence. And the longer he contemplates on that which cannot be contemplated upon, the more he contemplates upon the pure consciousness, the Guru Tattva, the essence. And what is the essence? That without which a thing is not a thing. So, without the smell, earth cannot be earth. Without wetness, the water cannot be water, or taste, water cannot be water. Without the heat and form, the fire cannot be fire. So what is, without the heat and light, the sun cannot be sun. If you remove that, sun is no longer. So what is that? If removed from you, you will not be you. That is the essence. That is the pure consciousness. Can you remove it? No. So when our attention goes on that, because of which this whole mechanism is functioning. Mechanism is not only the body. The mechanism is the whole world. And if you want to divide the world, you can put it into three categories: waking, dream, and the deep sleep. See, the world you can put it into why you are perceiving the world, because you consider yourself to the body, breath, mind, intellect. All these are part of that world. See? So in this manner, in the presence of the Guru, the individuality of the disciple is burnt into non-existence. How come? Because when we are focused on that substratum, to that extent, we are unclutched from the variety of forms and names. When we are continuously thinking, who am I? We are continuously thinking Ram, 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 Ram. To that extent, if I have been half an hour I have been chanting Ram, or half an hour I have been in contemplating on the self, for that half an hour, the forms of the world, yes, they may be there, but I was not available to them. All the variety of thoughts of all the forms in the world, they were not able to erupt in my mind because I was so focused on that one, the substratum. See? So in this manner, as I keep, and individuality is only established by owning multiplicity. See? But now, through association of multiplicity, if I has got nothing to get associated with other than contemplation of the self, other than lovingly remembering the Lord, eventually the individuality dissolves. Just like when the mind is not given an the waker is not given an option. He is so obsessed with sleep. He becomes focused, concentrated, wants to surrender to it, wants to be absorbed by it. In that process, what happens? Automatically, because of his single pointed approach to sleep, all the thoughts of the mind, variety of thoughts, all of them leave him. He doesn't leave them, they leave him. Same thing happens in the contemplation also, Maharaj. It's that simple. But are we brave enough, courageous enough to go all out and finish the drama once and for all? And once you have finished, then play the drama. Not pay for the drama. Right now, as individual, you are paying for the drama. How? By going to work, earning money, taking responsibility, by ownership. But what will happen afterwards? You will also, it may continue like that. But now there is no frustration, there is no agitation, there is no seeking, there is no ownership of anything. There is no ownership of the world. Because you know everything is perfect just the way it is. And this, it is not everything is perfect just the way it is. This disposition is because you have accepted I am the way I am, as I am, which is the substratum. That's why that is expressing out there. As the original, so the reflection. If I go with the beard in front of mirror, I will see a bearded face in the reflection. If I cut the beard, I will see what happened? I cut my beard, I am still seeing a bearded face. That cannot be possible, no? So when you see yourself reflected in your wife, in your children, in your world of relationships, have you accepted yourself to be incomplete? So when you consider yourself to be a husband, you will only see husband everywhere. When you consider yourself to be an individual, then that will be the reflection that you will see everywhere. Nature will remind you again and again that you are an individual man, good for nothing, complaining all the time. Take the position of totality, keep chanting the name of the Lord. Your vision about the same world, the vision will change. You will see everything as an expression of the divine. Come to realize yourself by putting attention on this pure consciousness that you are, on the essence, the Guru Tattva. And once the mind has dipped into the pure consciousness, just like in sleep, the mind dips into the ignorance. And once it comes out, it's refreshed every morning. I hope you are, and not sleepy. So imagine when we go into meditation, do dhyan, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, or we are in a satsang, why do we feel refreshed? Because our mind has taken a dip into the consciousness. How did it take the dip? By contemplating upon it. We are thinking about pure consciousness. Every sentence, every thought is taking us to the essence. And your mind is taking a dip. If I take a ball and put it in water, I cannot get a dry ball afterwards. It has to be wet. It's a foregone conclusion. So when I think about the infinite reality, when I think about the Guru Tattva, the pure consciousness, and the mind gets absorbed as if when it comes out, its vision of the world is completely transformed. It sees one everywhere because mind is that where the reflection is taking place. Mind is the mirror. I gave you the example: bearded face, bearded reflection; unbearded face, reflection without the beard. Same way, you accept you are a man, man will be the reflection in the man will be the reflection in the mind. If you take yourself to be an individual, individual will be the reflection in the mind. You take yourself to be the total, total will be the reflection of in the mind. Because mind has taken a dip in the totality, now then it expresses as the expression of totality. When the mind has taken a dip in that one without a second consciousness, pure consciousness, can it take a dip? No. It happens. Just like sleep happens. You cannot take a dip in the sleep. It happens when you apply your mind, yourself towards the sleep by thinking of the sleep. So when we apply our whole being thinking about the Guru Tattva, the I goes and gets absorbed by the grace of the Guru Tattva. But the phenomena will continue. And when it comes out, that individuality which is expressing, the body is expressing, the mind is expressing, the person is there, but he is no longer the same person. His vision has transformed. He sees the self everywhere. And such Mahatmas are called, such persons are called Mahatmas. See how wonderful it is. Raman Maharishi says, he who wants to transcend the fear of death has to learn to die first. Who has to die? The individual I has to die. And this is what we are calling as the dip or the absorption. And it is dying every day. Every day the bloody waker dies. Every day the dreamer dies. Every day the sleeper dies. Every day, so many times during the day, the husband dies, then the father dies, then the son dies. So many times. Means goes out of existence. That thought is not prevalent. He who wants to transcend the fear of death has to learn to die first. Without dying, the fear of death cannot be conquered. Fear of death, to maintain the form till eternity, not possible. And towards this, the stories of Kamsa, Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, all these stories come because they wanted to become immortal with form. And that is not possible because that which has come into existence has to go out of existence. There is no choice. And when the death is coming, we become afraid if we have not prepared. When we consciously die with understanding, we transcend death and understand death, birth and death are a mere phenomena. Birth and death are mere phenomena. And we transcend. So all the fear of existence, of security, all this goes out of our system. And it will go out of the system only when the individuality dissolves. Individuality will dissolve only when individuality is contemplating, surrendered to, remembering single pointedly about the totality or the pure consciousness. Here in this text, totality, we have no problem. Paramashiva and Shiva Parvati, Shiva Shakti, they are one only. One alone is expressing as Shiva Shakti. The self alone is expressing as the Aham and the Idam Vritti. Aham Vritti, the I thought, has got associated with the manyness of the Idam Vritti, the that thought. The entire, everything other than the I always remains the same. I cannot be something else. I. Father also I am, brother also I am, son also I am, man also I am, seeker also I am, waker also I am, dreamer also I am, sleeper also I am. I is the common. Then what I am in association with keeps changing. And this I takes the ownership, and that becomes the crux of individuality. The more the associations, stronger is the individuality. The more the identification, stronger is the individuality. And when this individuality starts thinking about its source, about its essential nature, when this individuality starts surrendering, contemplating upon its essence, that's all it has to do. Dissolution begins, just as in sleep. And who is able to die before death approaches? And who is able to die before death approaches? He alone has understood the vision of Lord Shiva. He alone. Who are these he? These are the Mahatmas. They have died before the death approaches. The same thing is done symbolically. When we take sannyas, we do our own kriya karma of the body. It's a symbolic. So now there is no fear. Food is there or not there, money is there or not there, lecture is there or not there, house is there or not there. And as slowly in our intense contemplation of the truth, and this we are, and what I just said, if it's there or not there, same thing happens to you when you go to sleep every night. You don't care. When the sleep, attention is on the sleep, you don't care in what position you are, whether the blanket is on your body or not, you're kicking someone or not, whether you have eaten or not, whether you have finished your business of the day or not, whether you have made your most important phone call or not, did you have said good night or not, who cares? We are ready to merge. Nothing remains, nothing can grab our attention at that time. Same thing happens here. So when we die to our individuality, meaning our ownership and identification and association with all the variety, with all the names and forms, now we are only subjectively available to our own essence. The individuality goes out of existence. Then we have died our own death. Then what will happen? Exactly as what I told you before. We see the reflection, but we are not affected by the reflection because we know reflection is not real. Then such a seeker who has dissolved his individuality in the infinite, or that has come about. And when he again is seen as functioning in this world, can that person again give validity to the world? He can only see the whole world as an expression of the self that I am. So will he desire the world? Will he hate the world? Will he manipulate? Will he live in the fear of security? Will he do dhan? Will he build ashrams? Will he want to do good for the society? All these will happen if they are meant to happen. But there is no inner urge to do anything. Whatever is happening, it's happening because as long as the body is there, body and mind are there, something will happen out of that. But now, before individuality was functioning, now because individuality is dissolved, now only the divine is functioning through that equipment. Only the divine is expressing through that equipment. There is no self-will that I must achieve this, I must do this, I must bring about a change, I must do that. No. It seems that way. Krishna also said, I have come for a purpose. Sarva dharma, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. When this statement is heard again and again from the Bhagavad Gita, you think Bhagwan has a purpose, isn't it? Paritranaya sadhunam, for the upliftment of the saints and sages. Vinashaya cha dushkritam, to destroy the evil. Dharma sansthapanarthaya, to re-establish the dharma. Sambhavami yuge yuge. I keep taking incarnation again and again. And there is every possibility someone may think, man, he's got a very big ego. He's got a very fantastic idea. He wants to do all this and he's only this much. So when he makes that statement, it is not for himself. That statement is coming out of that mouth of the Krishna. It is not for the self that he is speaking that way. So we must know the position. He is saying that for the benefit of Arjuna or the seekers. You are also incarnating every day. Every morning you incarnate as a waker. It's not the same waker from yesterday. But are we incarnating paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge? Do we say that? Or do we even recognize that this is happening to us? Or are we incarnating every morning to more security, more wealth, more houses, more tit for tat, more revenge, more kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, more of individuality, more of relationships, more of influencing this world, more of helping this world? What is our modus operandi? See? So when you start, so what I just explained you, that Bhagwan is saying all that, yet he is transcendental to whatever has been said, that we see from his life and his words. So what was expressing at that time was in response to Arjuna's question. A realized master also, when Raman Maharishi is asked a question, he used to answer sometimes, and sometimes the answer used to be in silence. When Arjuna was asking the question in the first chapter, Krishna was silent, only smiling. He did not answer. After 30-40 verses, then he said, and the first one word was a reprimand. Klebhyam Partha. See? But he was quiet. So look at the whole picture rather than Nisargadatta Maharaj was completely different compared to Ramana Maharshi. If you go to his room, which was only 4 by 4, if you don't ask questions, he'll throw you out. Don't come there only to listen to him, because nobody could understand what he spoke, because he was speaking in the local language. Someone had to translate. And if suddenly there is a pin drop silence, he'll say, don't waste my time. I don't know when I will go. Ask questions and get the information out of me. And every now and then he will test everyone if they have understood, if they have been asking questions or sitting quietly. And if they cannot, if the concept is not clear, because this, what we are expressing to you through words is only a concept. How will it gel? When we apply subjectively. And if once, twice, thrice, maximum 10, 11 days he used to allow someone there in the room. And if they don't, if they haven't got the, if they're not, it has not clicked to them, he'll say, don't wait, don't occupy space, get out, let other people come. So completely, diametrically opposite. One preferred answering in silence and another could not stay silent. Nisargadatta Maharaj. See? So it's not about this versus that. It's about us coming to realize our own essential nature, coming to surrender to the Guru Tattva. And then it's not our, then let the Leela happen, let the totality function through this equipment. People will see the Leela happening through this equipment. Your disposition will be that I am one without a second. I alone am all that there is. Thus, and he who is able to die before death approaches. Here we have to understand, death approaches means the actual death. Whether you talk it about as the physical death or as the death as a principle, because death creates fear in us. So when we have transcended, when we have died to the death itself, meaning we are not available to the principle of death. We are not available to the phenomena of death. And this is what was achieved by Parikshit Maharaj in Bhagavatam. He had 7 days to live. He heard the Bhagavatam and he died to death itself. So when that Takshaka Nag came and bit him at the end of 7 days, there was no person to say that, oh, please help me, I am bitten by a snake. He had already realized. He has transcended his individuality. He had dissolved his individuality in the infinite. This is the power of satsang. This is the power of, if we want to associate with this type of knowledge, associate with masters, associate with the pure consciousness that we are. And how do we associate? By continuously contemplating upon it, thinking about it, singing the glory of it, reading about it, chanting about it, and being it in the end. Then we have transcended, we have died to death itself. Thus is expressed the grace of the Guru in the game of love between the Guru Shishya. In such a vision, from the absolute standpoint, there is only love, no logic. Logic is of the intellect. In that one without a second, there is no mind and intellect. When there is no body, there is no mind and intellect also. Then what logic? This pure self, this Guru Tattva, is of the nature of unconditional love. That's why our Lord Shiva is called Bholenath, Bhole Baba, the most compassionate one. the most loving one, easily pleased, easily gives boons. But we don't want him to be pleased or to give boons. We want to merge into him. Yes, that approach to merging is surrendering and invoking his grace. The grace of the Guru in the game of love between the Guru Shishya in such a vision from the absolute standpoint, because from absolute standpoint it's one without a second, there is no duality or multiplicity. So when do you hate all the reflections in the room of mirrors where you are standing? Do you hate anyone? Oh, why that fellow is like this? Why? You cannot, because you only are moving and everyone is moving from all different angles. You move one finger, all the reflections will move. So I'm talking from totality point, not even because from absolute you cannot say anything. So will you hate any reflection? No. Because you know all reflections are mine alone. You know all the reflections are existing in their own absence. You know all reflections are expressions of you alone, of that one alone. So when there is no hatred, then it becomes a game, and then you will make this position or that position or a dancing position or take your tongue out, and we used to do it. And you enjoy the whole game. That's what Bhagwan is doing at totality level with us. He alone is expressing in and through us, as us. Krishna knew that. Lord Shiva knows that. And he does that with his potentiality, with the help of his potentiality. But when all this variety is expressing, as if Lord Shiva has not forgotten that he is essentially Paramashiva. We have forgotten. We even forget, even as expressing as father, mother, daughter, sister, we forget we are a man or a woman also. In such a vision, from the absolute standpoint, there is only love, no logic. Only when there is unconditional love, then the game begins. When there is unconditional love between Krishna and Radha, then game begins, then Leela begins. The unconditional love between Shiva and Shakti, Ram and Sita, Krishna and Radha, that's when the play begins. If you see the story of Radha, she doesn't know her true nature. So she is taking everything seriously. Krishna is playing with her. And before she doesn't like him, then she likes him, she gets attracted to him, but she doesn't want to accept that she is attracted, because what about my father, what about my mother, what about Barsana, what about my friends? That was more important than Krishna. But slowly events kept happening by grace of Krishna, and she came closer and closer to Krishna. And eventually she realizes her essential nature, even while before she was so affected by what was happening in the world. What will people say? What will her friends say? What will parents say? But as the time went on, she became fearless. She transcended all relations. She expanded, all the while living in this world, doing her duties. And as she is going through this whole process, eventually she realizes, and when she realizes Lord Krishna as the ultimate one, and seeing, just like Shiva Shakti, Radha Krishna, once she sees that she is inseparable, both are part and parcel. So sometimes Shiva is the Krishna is the experiencer and Radha is the experienced. Sometimes Radha is the experiencer, Krishna is the experienced. Krishna is the lover, Radha is the loved. Radha is the lover, Krishna is the loved. So they keep interchanging their positions. When she sees that this phenomena is eternal, then Leela begins. In fact, it was all the time Leela. When she looks back, before the merging, if she looks back, oh, it's all a game. It's all a game. It's all Leela. Nothing to be serious about. That we have to realize while living, not after death, while living. And there is no, this can only come through, here it says, from absolute standpoint, there is only love, no logic. So Radha's approach to Krishna was out of suspicion, out of separation, out of duality. But Krishna is a Purna avatar. From beginning, he has, his approach towards Radha is of unconditional love, continues to guide her, but decisions she has to make, attention she has to give, questions she has to ask, Krishna will answer. But if she doesn't ask question, sometimes he will not say anything. And sometimes intuitively, by force of nature, he comes out with something and tells her. Sometimes she understands, sometimes she doesn't understand. But but disposition of Krishna, the absolute, is out of unconditional love for Radha. And why Radha? Why not all other people? Why Radha and why not other? If everything is divine, why he chose only Radha? Because she was thinking about him. Why only you are listening to satsang? Why not everyone? Because you are thinking about the satsang. If others think, they will also listen. Truth is available only to those at the individual level. Empirical level, it's only available to those who are available to it. Truth is available to everyone. Just like the signal is available to everyone. But we have to put the phone on. Then the Wi-Fi will express through it. We have to put ourselves on. How do we put ourselves on? By thinking about it. This is what Sant Jnaneshwara maintained in the short but glorious life, a life of total love and no bitterness. So is our life a reflection of what we contemplated on today? Our life is continuously, I am an individual, I am bound, I am in relationship, I have to maintain this, I have to do this, I have to do my duties. And continuously taking that position, we are looking up to the Lord. Please grace me, please help me, please. No, take the higher position. And look down upon the whole world as your expression. Take the eagle's viewpoint. And that eagle's viewpoint is possible only when we are exclusively thinking about the divine theme. Then that vision is graced, comes as a grace. And our whole life will be a glorious one, which is equal to dying while living. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Sit quietly for half a minute. Hari Om. Our Vivek Chudamani class, which is normally held on Wednesday, will be for this week will be held tomorrow, Monday, and the Gita class on Thursdays will be held on Tuesday. And after that, you can still click into the Zoom. The lectures will be in Hindi, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday, 5 lectures on Bhagavatam, on Krishna. Janmashtami is there on 5th. So 5th or something like that, I can't remember the date. So the Fiji temple has asked me to give some lectures, so I'm giving these 5 in Hindi. So you can join in if you want.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Swamiji.
Take care.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Take care. Take care.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om, Renuka.
Swamiji, what time are the classes?
Usually they start at 7:15. So sign in at 7 o'clock and then you can, whenever we start, we start. I also don't know. We'll find out. But usually at Fiji temple, they start at 7:15 and conclude by 8:45. 8:45, 9 o'clock. 8:45 to 9 is some Naam Sankirtan. Yeah. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om Saket. Hari Om Bodh.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om, take care.
Thank you. Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om Mama. Hari Om, Hari Om. I'll sign out. Who is this? Oppo.
Who is this Oppo?
Doesn't matter.